I think you can see the screen now. Okay, perfect. Right. So uh, there are a few brokers that we've added now. We've integrated with Upstocks. We've integrated with Fires, with Angel One. There is work going on for Flat Trade, First Stock. We've we're working with Expresso M. Right. So there are a list of 5 brokers that we will be launching in maybe next 10 days. So coming back to what are the changes that we've included in this release, right? I think there are enough people now. I can see 26 people. So as soon as I think so the top line remains the same. The first major change that you see here is the ROI section, right? So when I click on ROI, right now it is, so I have a small trade that I was testing today. So where the available margin, it will show. And when I utilize the margin, it will tell me, it will change. So this is a clickable button. Whenever you click, so let me shift this to paper trade. In paper trade, I have, as you can see, as soon as I click on paper trade, it changes to, uh, I think this is 1 crore 50 lakhs, right? So if I take a trade now, let me take a straddle in a paper trade. And if I sell this and I click on this, you'll see that the value updates, right? So now the available margin is so and so, and the ROI will change. Right now, since PNL is 0, then ROI is 0. So you can see what is the ROI based on the margin utilized. This feature will be available for brokers where there's a margin calculator, because we need to know what is the margin utilized for the trade that you've taken. So if I take something like this and I click on, okay, it's not going to allow me. Yeah, it does. Right? So you can see the margin changed from 13 lakh 80,000 or 1 crore 39 lakh to 1 crore uh, 80 lakhs to 1 crore 39 lakhs. Right? So basically, this is fairly dynamic. Right? So that's the first change that you can see here. The second and the most requested feature was SL and trailing SL. So you'll see 2 checkboxes on right here. So there are three new controls right here. When I click on SL, you'll see there is a section for stop losses. So you can define a stop loss here, and you can say, let's say the stop loss for this is 50, and what should happen, right? So it should exit full quantity, half quantity, 1/4 quantity, or you can specify a quantity. So I can specify what quantity it should exit when the SL is hit. So I can specify half and check this checkbox. I'm telling the system now that square off 50% of the quantity when the LTP is above 50, and I can change this. Right? So this is, we currently not doing decimal, but we will be adding decimal as well. But in the first release, it will be absolute integer value. So you can basically change the values right from here. You can type it as well. And so I can do a 58 and an up and down arrow. So that will also work here. So that's on SL. Along with that, there is a trailing SL option. So I can trail the SL with a step of 1. So when I click on this, the trailing SL will get disabled, and it will tell me at which point, right, the trailing SL will start functioning. So let's take an example here. If I set this to trailing SL of 2, then basically change this to 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I can change this as a trailing SL. So from 14.45, my trailing SL, it will start trailing if I have the SL also checkbox checked. So you have an SL where you can specify on a leg level how much quantity you want to square off, half, 1/4, full, or a specified quantity. And you have an option to trail your SL with a step off all the way from 1 to 100. It will tell you when you click on the SL and trailing SL, it will tell you from what is the pivot, because as the market is moving, and at the time when you check the checkbox, from that point of time, the trailing SL is triggering. So it looks at the LTP and then starts trailing from that point of time. So this is very dynamic. You can uncheck, check, and change the value and check again. So SL and trailing SL is something that we are introducing in this release. The next on the grid, you'll see there's another option now. Instead of a box, you have a drop down where you can specify the quantity, and you have an add button. Similar to that, we have for move closer, move away for 2, and move closer for 2, and exit. Also, now you can change this on. So let's say I want to uncheck move to, right? And I set a default quantity. So we've added a default quantity option now. So in this, I can set a default quantity, and let's say I want to do 5,000. So as soon as you notice, as soon as I change this to 5,000, the drop down here changes to 5,000, but I can't move 5,000. So its system is dynamic enough to realize that you have only 360 quantity. So it's going to move, the options available will be 360. If I change this to 300, let's say 120, let's go all the way up and do something which is less than. So I do 120. You'll see 120 is available here on the add. On the move also now 120, because 120 is available. If I change this to 400, then 400 is not possible, so it changes to 360, which is the maximum quantity available. So SL, trailing SL, you can hide and show, set a default quantity, and that default quantity gets added. And coming to the buy leg, right? So when there's a lot of requests on the buy side as well. So on the buy positions, there is an all option where this is same as old, right? Where you can shift manually a certain specified quantity, 1/4, half, or one. Right? Even here, if I change this to 480, since I don't have 480, its maximum is 120. If I change this to 40, then the 40 is available, right? So I can add more. So I'm adding 1800 here. And now if I change this to 920, I have an option of 920 exit, add, and move. Along with that, you can now change to move one. So you have a move away, move closer, or you can do move to. So it's a predefined list. You can choose to have a generic, which will give you all the options to choose from, or similar to what we have for sold positions, you can have a move one or a move two. So this gives you a predefined list. If you're comfortable moving by two strikes, you see the strike, you see the LTP, and you can click on a button and it will specify the quantity. If you specify the quantity, you can click on M. If you want to shift half, you can click on half or one. So that's on the buy side. Also, you have the default quantity option available along with move on one strike away, one strike closer, and move two strike away, two strike closer. What you see here now is, if I uncheck this, let me exit. I'll show you one more feature that got added now is on the grid. So you'll see a reason now, right? A lot of times we're not sure what is the reason why did the position, why was it not completed, right? So now you have an option to look at the reason. So for example, in this use case, there was a scenario where let's see. Yeah, I think APIs are extremely slow after market close because obviously they run down the capacity of the servers. Okay, so it's loaded here. So for example, right here, the rejected reason, you can see that it is because of the insufficient funds. So we'll add a tooltip to look at the whole text, but it will give you a reason why it was rejected. So whenever there's a rejection, you'll be able to see the reason of the rejection. Right next to it, we've added a grid for any open orders. So a lot of people are using limit orders these days, and let's say for any reason the limit order didn't get filled, so you will be able to see the limit order right here, and you can cancel the order from here itself. So you'll have a list of open orders and you can cancel any open order. So let's say even if you put an SL order on your broker terminal, that will show up here, and at any point of time you can cancel that order right from here. So specifically with the market volatility, a lot of times the price moves swiftly and your limit order is not filled. You'll be able to see those limit orders here. You can click on open orders. This is a button available which will refresh the list of open orders. So that's one of the requests that was outstanding for a while, where we're showing now the open orders from the broker terminal and we're showing the reason for rejections. On the automation side, right? So we've added now two buttons for roll up, roll down, right? So you can roll up your straddle by a click of a single button. So I can select a straddle. So let me go back to paper trade. Okay. So get the idea where if I have a straddle where I can sell this, right? And now I can basically say, okay, 2300 straddle, I want to roll up. So it will go to 2400, right? And I can do a roll down to move it to 2350 and 2250, right? So roll down will bring it down to, so right now it has gone to 2350, and a roll down will move it to, so if I click on roll down now, it will roll it down back to 23. So these two buttons would help if you want to quickly roll up, roll down your straddle. The next automation feature is on the strangle, right? So I can now, let me just sell some strangles. I think it's a bad choice to select the Nifty because everything is zero now. But just to explain, I can basically sell, let's say this is the strangle. In the strangle list, I can say which call input. So I could have multiple strangles. I can say, okay, 2400 strangle, and on the call side 2400, on the put side 2200. When should it roll up and when should it roll down? That is determined by top and bottom. So if I say that 2500 is breached on the upside or 2100 is breached on the downside, roll up or roll down. So it will roll up these both the legs. It will roll up my call and put one strike up. If the top is breached, it will roll down if the bottom is breached. So it's basically you're shifting your strangle as per the spot. So this is a new feature that we're rolling out in the upcoming release. So you have, we already had for straddle. Now we will have an option to do it for strangle. That's on this. On stepwise, there was a request that, let's say if I have minus 50,000 and if I have plus 50,000, and I want to switch. That's why I want to basically say that stepwise PNL should work, and I want to do a stepwise of 5,000. So going forward, when your PNL goes to 5,000, the exit PNL will not change to zero. It will become minus 45,000. So the step logic will also work on negative PNL as well. So just to repeat, earlier if the PNL would go to 5,000, the exit would change to zero in the stepwise. But now when the PNL goes to 5,000, the exit PNL will change to minus 45. When the PNL goes to 10,000, the exit criteria will go to minus 40,000. So the stepwise will also work on negative values as well now. One more important feature that we are adding now is in the wait we are introducing zero, because what we've seen is these days the movement is so quick that waiting for that one extra tick can sometimes cause a lot of slippage. So going forward, there will be a zero value. Now what that zero would basically mean is as soon as the price is breached, it will perform the action. Earlier the logic was there were a lot of checks and there was an extra tick that the system would end up uh, waiting for even when you select one. So we've now introduced zero. Now zero would mean as soon as the price is breached, perform that action. Also, we've introduced a retry button. So a lot of users do not want multiple orders. So a lot of times, especially if you're trading with large quantities, the system is designed such that when there is a rejection due to margin failures, it would reduce the quantity and try again. Now, if you don't want that functionality, you can just uncheck the retry. That will ensure that, let's say, if any order is rejected because insufficient margin, it will not retry with a reduced quantity. So this is only for people who are dealing with upwards of 1 CR. They would find benefit because the number of orders would reduce and the execution speed will even increase. So that's on the retry. On saving the configurations and loading, right? So earlier, these rules, your watch list, none of these would be saved, but now you can save and load them. The only thing is they will remain unchecked. So when I create these, let's say I add this right now and I remove this. So this list, if I've created, similarly for the custom, if I've created a list and if I save this, when I'm loading it back, the same watch list will be persisted. So it's the same watch list. You don't have to create again. So that's a feature that we're adding with on custom, on call rules, put rules, and spot rules. All everywhere your watch list will be saved when you save the configuration, and when you load it back, it will not be checked because it's possible that you may have saved it last week, and now when you're loading it, you will have an option to just check them. You don't have to set them again. So that's on the watch list part. Okay, let me see. Stop loss, trailing stop loss covered, displaying of available margin covered. We've covered. Okay, one more thing, right? When you have rules on an existing position 2300, if I square off 2300, right, let me uncheck this, and if I exit this, all the rules are now becoming inactive. So if you have any active rule for a position that was active at that point of time, when you square off that position, any of those rules which were associated with that strike will also be unchecked. So you don't have to go and manually now trace whether these options are checked or unchecked. And so if I go to put rule, and let's say if I add this, I have these rules. If I square off, these will get unchecked. So that is on the unchecking active rules when the position is squared. Let's see what else. We've covered list of open orders, roll up, roll down, sliding strangle. Yes, another thing, right, is cross leg. So this was another feature that was requested. So when my 2300 put is greater than, let's say, 17, I want to sell a 2350 put. I can do that now, right? So you can have a cross leg. So instead of selling the same leg, you can sell a different leg on that same rule. So for example, if 2300 is breached on 1625, I want to buy certain puts. So let's say I want to do this. So now this is possible. This is possible on the call rules, on the put rules. So on individual leg, I can decide to, when the price of a call reaches a certain level, I can take a position on the put side as well, or any other call for that. So that's on the cross leg feature. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers majority of changes that are rolling out. So I'll quickly summarize from the top. Right? We've added a weight of 0 to reduce the slippage that we're seeing in the market these days. We've added a retry option. A retry option, if unchecked, it will not send a order with a reduced quantity in case of a margin shortfall. So if you have a margin shortfall and you have retry unchecked, it will not send a new order with reduced quantity. By default, the retry will be checked for all the users, but you can always uncheck this. Some automation features that have added on the rolling straddle. You have a roll up and a roll down button now, which will roll up and roll down both the legs of your straddle. On a triangle, you can now have a sliding strangle. You can specify which strikes of your call and put, and at what is the top and bottom of the spot levels. If these levels are breached, both the legs will roll up or roll down based on whichever level is breached. On the automation on the right side, you have cross leg options now. You can have a different strike, a position on a different strike based on the LTP of an existing instrument. So when 2300 is breached at a certain level, you want 2350 option to be taken. Right? So that is on the call rules and put rules. You can save the watch list now. Whenever you save the watch list, will get loaded, but the checkboxes will be remained unchecked. So whenever you're saving the configuration and loading it back, the watch list will still load up. Only thing that you have to do is check the checkboxes. When an existing position is squared off, and if you had rules for that existing option, those rules will automatically be unchecked. So if I square off 2400 call, any rule that I've created for 2400 will automatically be unchecked. That's on the, yes, so that covers the part here. On the bottom, on the stepwise will work on the exit PNL as well on a negative value. So a 5000 PNL with a step of 5000 will result in changing from minus 50,000 to minus 45,000. If the PNL goes to 10,000, it will change to minus 40,000. So it's not going to go all the way to 0. It's going to stepwise reduce the value for exit PNL as well. Now you have an option to see the ROI. along with what is the available margin and what is the margin used. So the margin used will be shown divided by what is the actual margin available in the account, and then the actual available margin now. And this is a button because the margin value keeps changing. So when you click on that button, it will fetch the latest value from the broker. Scrolling down, you have three more options right now next to the sold positions. One is the default quantity. A default quantity would set the quantity values in the drop down. So if I change this to 80, you'll see 80 is being reflected in all across. If I change to something which is higher than the quantity you have, then the add will have 1,000, but everywhere else 1,000 would not make sense because you can only move 650 quantity because you have 650 quantity, and similarly you can exit 640 quantity. That's why it's showing 640. The value will apply on the buy side as well. So we've added a stop loss and a trailing stop loss. So you can specify what is the stop loss, and you can specify what quantity should be squared off when the stop loss is hit. Full quantity, half, 1/4, or you can specify a number. Similarly, trailing, you can specify the step for trailing. So if you have checkbox checked for the trailing, you are saying at 3 steps I want to trail with the stop loss of 20. So it will start trailing. On the grid, on the move, we've added these options to have custom values. So you still have 1/4, half, 1, but you can specify a quantity. I can specify 80 and then it will move for 80. On the buy leg, let me just exit this and exit this. On the buy side, we've added now 3 options, all move 1, move 2, similar to what we have in the sold options. So if you see here on the sold, so if you select this to 400, the grid will automatically get populated with the value here. So I can add 400. I can move to 80. Right? If I change this again to a higher value, then this value will get reflected. So if I make this as 1,000, a higher value 150, so 1080 comes in. I can move this by click of a button, half, 1, and I can choose to do move by 2, move by 1, or keeping all as an option, and you can select to which strike you want to move. Scrolling down, you have a reason for rejections. It will tell you why your order was rejected. Was it insufficient margin, whether it was MIS orders are blocked or limit orders are blocked, whatever be the reason. You can see list of all the open orders. You can cancel any of the open order. You will see an open order, a cancel button next to the open order. You can refresh the list at any given point of time by clicking on open orders. So that is all the changes based on the feedback that we've received. Right, there are still a lot more requests that are coming in. We'll try to incorporate them as in the next releases. So keep sharing your feedback. Do let us know what are the things that you want to see next. We'll try to incorporate them as and where possible. A few more important things that internally have changed. One is now Zerodha, we noticed that on the expiry day, even if you're trading NRML options, the sell order, the buy order can go before the sell order. Right? So internally now, the system, if you're doing an NRML option trading, and a product type is NRML, which is overnight position, and the expiry day is today, then the buy order will go before the sell order because Zerodha is allowing the buy order on the expiry day. So that will help in the margin benefit. So similar to what we do for MIS. So that will be possible for any NRML order on the expiry day. So that's one internal change which is not visible on the U. Okay, I'll take a 1 minute. I'll check if there are any questions. Strangle top, bottom. Sure. I will talk about what is strangle. Right. So in the strangle management, I can basically choose. So this is the strangle 2550 and 2050. I can tell if the spot goes above 2500, roll up both the legs. So both the legs will roll up. So the call will go to 2600 and the put will go to 2100. If the downside is breached, both the legs will roll down. So the call will come to 2500 and the put will go to 20,000. So that way you can manage a strangle roll up, roll down, similar to straddle roll up, roll down. by defining what is the range of your top and the bottom. If that top or bottom breaches, then this triangle will automatically adjust. Yeah. If you have any other questions, please uh, let us know. I'll try to answer them as well. I will make a live video during the market hours, because obviously with everyday trading, it's becoming very difficult to do record a video in live or have a live session. Not many would be able to join it. So I'll make a video explaining all these features along with the rollout when we do. So when is this planned? It is planned sometime next week. So we will do a phased rollout for for Zerodha first, then Finvacia, then XTS. So it's going to be a phased manner rollout for each broker. Just one thing to remember: ROI option will be available only if your broker has a margin calculator. Right? If your broker doesn't have a margin calculator, there's no way for us to determine what is the margin used for the position. You may have a Nifty and a Bank Nifty position. So the margin utilized by Nifty is not available unless the broker gives us an option to calculate the margin for a specified instrument. Okay. How is SL different from price check? Yes, it's a very valid question. So here you now have an option to do on individual legs, versus a price check works mostly on the most risky leg first. It will work on all the legs, but the value that you're defining is for pretty much the most risky leg. So if I have 4 calls and 4 puts and I have a price check where I put in, let's say, 200, the most risky leg will first risk off or square off when it reaches 200. You can achieve the same through stop loss as well, but since we had already added exit option in the price check in the previous releases, we decided to keep it for now. If we see that the exit option is of no use because people are using stop loss by default from the grid, then the exit on the price check can be removed. OI not updated. OI, is becoming a very tricky. OI data is let me see how we can improve on the OI data. How can we start displaying it in more relevant fashion? I'll take that as a next release feature where we'll try to streamline how we can utilize OI data in TradeFlow. Okay, I'm getting some questions on WhatsApp as well. If I'll try to answer them individually because those are very specific asks on specific features. So I'll try to cover them in one-on-one calls, trying to understand those features. Okay, if there are no other questions, I would thank you all for joining in, and apologies for the small disconnection that happened in between. Unfortunately, we closed. I unfortunately closed TradeFlow by mistake, both the instances, so I had to load it back. Uh, if there are no other questions, I will wrap up this session. I will be making a more detailed video. This is more of a, if there are any feedback on this, right? If there's anything that you would want to see in the coming set of features, maybe any other option along with this, do let me know. Before the rollout, we'll try to see if we can accommodate that as well. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good day and hope you had a good trading session today, and wish you all the best for the upcoming trading sessions. Take care. Thank you.